Welcome back to some new Malicious Compliance Stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called Leaving Early. I know leaving 5 minutes early is sort of a privilege, but I had gotten approval for this from my manager and her direct boss. I leave 5 minutes early to catch an earlier train that will get me home 40 minutes earlier than the next train. I had informed my boss and her boss of this 2 weeks prior to me actually starting to take the earlier train, and both said yes. I've been taking this train since January. Fast forward to today, and all of a sudden my manager tells me I cannot leave early anymore because she has gotten in trouble for it. I found it weird because both she and her direct boss had given me the approval already, and it's been good for months with no issues. I then find out from a coworker that a higher up in a totally different department happened to catch wind that I was leaving 5 minutes early. So he told my manager to stop letting me leave early because I'm not special and shouldn't be able to leave early to catch a better train for myself. What really is the kicker here is that I come in 10 to 15 minutes early every day and I am never late. But apparently 5 minutes is too much of an ask. So instead of leaving 5 minutes early, I am now leaving 15 minutes later. This doesn't affect me in any way, because the next train doesn't come for a while. So now I'm racking 2.5 hours of overtime every week between the time I come in early and stay late for pretty much no downside on my end, because I'd spend the time waiting at the station regardless. The next story is called Property Lines. Back when I was responsible for the garden and grounds related issues for a housing developer, Susan popped her head over her neighboring property's fence. Susan was abrupt and rude, but not quite to Karen level. Are you going to cut back all of these weeds growing over to my side of the fence? Yes, I have to reclaim this public footpath, and those same weeds are on council, local authority land, but will also be causing me problems if I don't deal with it. I am actually here to do that now. Because it's your company land, and I expect it to be cut all the way around. Motions to all 3 sides of her right long garden fence. Look, it's all growing into my garden, and it's not been dealt with since your company bought the land. That's actually why I've been hired full-time. I am not part of the development crew. I'm here to maintain areas and deal with issues like this. Today I can clear the ivy from your fence, but that triangle of wilderness between yours, ours, and the council will have to be next week sometime. We'll be cutting down on the other side? She motions to where I can't see due to the triangle of wilderness. Actually no, that side is between you and the council. That school on the other side doesn't open for another year, so I suggest not waiting until then to contact them. Well, what am I supposed to do? I'm happy to pull down the ivy for you this once and poison along the fence line. It will do you for now. I said this because the company I work for is trying to improve relations. And, as I've stated, I will take care of this one side indefinitely. I need you to prove you aren't responsible for that side too. The next day, I consult my map of the grounds and property line. Turns out I was wrongly informed. My manager expressly forbids me from tackling anything remotely near her fence line. Are you back to cut down this area? I am glad you are here. I showed her the drawing. This is the area in question, and it's all council property. The yellow line is where my responsibility ends. Susan never had anyone cut down the vegetation. Ivy, brambles and nettles absolutely ate her fences over the next 3 years. And last time I checked, they were replaced a meter inside the property line. Demi Karen pushes her luck and ends up losing free maintenance along her fence line. She did once ask me to put lots of poison on the offending weeds, but all I could offer her was a normal spray that my company provides if she called. I said they might offer it for the same nominal price I would do a driveway for, but she never called. The third story is called Cell Phone Rules. The owner of a small company issued me a company cell phone that I didn't need and felt that gave him an excuse to call me any time of day or night, workday or not, with stupid questions. He also kept giving us, those of us with company cell phones, changing rules about using those phones. One rule was that we had to answer ASAP. Another rule was we were not to talk on the phone while driving. We had to pull over and park, then answer and talk. So one morning I'm driving to work and should get to the office about 15 minutes early when he rings my phone. Morning traffic is heavy near the office and it takes me some time to get out of traffic and park in a parking lot before I answer. He keeps it ringing the whole time. When I finally answer, he asks, "Where are you?" I tell him that I'm about 10 minutes from the office, but I had to stop to answer his call. He asks, "Why aren't you here yet?" I tell him again that I probably would have been at the office by now, but this call and rules have me sitting in a parking lot instead. I asked, "What is the hurry? Is there an emergency?" If I weren't interrupted, I would have been in the office early. He responds, "Why aren't you coming?" I remind him of his rule that I am not to answer his phone and drive at the same time. This type of stupid banter continues for a while until he gets tired. So he hangs up and I continue to the office, now about 15 minutes late. When I get to the office, the owner meets me and demands that I give him back the phone. Says I do not deserve it. Hooray! Now he is unable to keep calling and bothering me. About a week later, the owner stops by my cube and asks why I am not answering his cell phone calls. I remind him that he had confiscated that phone. Apparently he shoved it into our drawer. And he cannot hear it ring. Yeah, I moved on to greener pastures not long after this. The next story is called Put It There. I used to have a coworker at a satellite TV installation company years ago. When we install a satellite dish, we use a special inclinometer to determine whether or not our satellite dish's view will be obstructed. Each region is given a specific azimuth, elevation and tilt that serves to identify the actual satellite in orbit and to prevent us from installing a non-functioning system. Our boss called my coworker to assist with a satellite dish relocation because a customer replaced his roof. They tore the satellite dish off the old roof when the new roof was put on. My coworker arrives and the customer tells him that he would like the satellite dish to be put on a pole outside. He says, "Fine, where would you like the pole mount to be placed?" The customer points to an area of his heavily wooded backyard and says very sternly, "Put that satellite dish right there beneath the trees and point it that way toward the sky. I don't want to be able to see the satellite dish. It's pretty ugly." He walks over to the spot, all the while knowing this isn't going to work. There he uses his tool, had to make it look like he tried, and says, "Sir, this isn't going to work here, or anywhere on the ground for that matter. The satellite we are aiming for is past these trees, and your TV won't get a signal. It will need to go back on the roof." "Well, then point it the other way then." "Well, it's not going to." "How is it not going to work? The sky is open." "Is it not? Do you just not want to work or what? That's a brand new roof." I should also mention that the tech drove 1.5 hours for this. The tech was patient and tried to reason with him, but he kept cutting him off before he could explain himself. He would still have a 1.5 hour drive back for a total of 3 hours. He was not getting paid by the drive, only by the job. The boss rearranged his schedule since he was the closest and one of the few techs to have the proper equipment. The company essentially screwed him and wouldn't have coughed up the money if the work did not get through. And so he did exactly as the customer said. He placed the satellite dish exactly how the customer wanted it pointed at the sky. And right after that, the technician left. And the customer was happy. Well, happy. Right up until he went to turn on his TV and got the error code 771. Signal loss on satellite. The tech didn't pick up his phone for the customer when he tried calling. And then eventually the boss called and asked, "Why didn't you put the satellite dish on the roof?" I tried to explain it to him. I tried reasoning with him. I told him it wouldn't work where he wanted it, but he absolutely insisted it would because of the clear sky. So I gave him what he wanted. The customer is always right. The boss sympathetically says, "Yeah, but you know that's wrong." In the end, the customer's TV was out for the next 2 weeks. And he absolutely deserved every bit of it. From what my coworker told me, the boss didn't hear the end of it from the customer when the customer called in to complain. But my coworker told me that the boss absolutely deserved it, because the boss was a jerk to him all week. The last story is called Waiting for It. I used to work for a small, locally owned supermarket chain with a small level of bureaucracy and a high focus on getting stuff sold. After a few years, we were taken over by a national chain. This introduced much bureaucracy, where emails and phone calls from the bottom to the top would be lost to the ether and left unanswered. Their focus was highly on image, with staff at head office who seemingly worked to ensure similar sized products are next to each other on each shelf, so that it looked nice. They also changed the shop manager's incentives. Their bonuses were the operating budget of their store, minus wages, expenses and written off stock. So obviously we were now operating on a shoestring budget, so the manager got as much money as they could. Before the takeover, we had an award-winning butcher department that worked with local farms and catered to customer requests. The new firm immediately closed the counter and filled chillers full of pre-packed sliced meats instead, which we frequently discounted to prevent them from going to the bin. One time we received a dozen cases of high-end cut-off meat, way more than we would usually stock of an affordable packet. We were therefore at risk of running past its sell-by date and being thrown out. As it was a new product, we didn't have a price label for it. After waiting a weekend for the system to update, I emailed head office for a label and filled the chiller using a pricing gun left over from the takeover to label each individual packet. We sold a few by the time I came back the following week, but was pulled aside by the Mangelman. The area manager had been in to inspect the shop and was horrified at the ugly labels and demanded they be taken off the shelves until our label was ready. I explained the issue, but they wouldn't have it. So I took them down as instructed and left them in the big fridge at the back of the store. They sat there for a month until they expired, after which someone else recorded them for disposal. A few days later, someone at head office noticed the enormous increase in wastage and reported it. Down the chain it came. The red-faced area manager storms in to shout at the stern-faced store manager, who in turn calls over the tannoy for me to drop everything and get to his office. I'm just waiting for the label, I told them both as they searched for a scapegoat for the £3,000 write-off. I'm paid by the hour, no bonus, so I'm not going to argue the case. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. And now, I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.